Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jason Lord and I'm your moderator for our webinar, and boy oh boy are you in for a treat, because today we're going to be talking about one of the most unique and valuable capabilities NEUSTAR has to offer that serves a very common need for marketers of all stripes. The audio for our presentation is being provided via voice over IP. Be sure to turn up the sound on your speakers or headphones so that you can hear us. If you have any audio or technical difficulty, please click on the Help widget at the bottom of the screen. It's the one with the question mark icon. It'll help you with your most common technical issues. And now we definitely want to hear from you, so if you have any questions at any point during the webcast, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your question. And we'll try to answer all questions during the webcast, but if we happen to run out of time, we'll get back to you via email after the presentation. And finally, an on-demand version of the webcast will be sent to your email in the next few days for you to share and refer back to. And with that, I'd like to introduce two very intelligent gentlemen whom we have the pleasure of hearing from today. The stylish man that's at the top is Jason Beyer, our VP of Marketing Advisory Services, and the first voice you'll hear after me is the also lovely Doug Feit, the Executive Director of Solutions Engineering. Doug, please take it away.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you all for joining us today. As marketers, we are all well aware that we are living in the age of the empowered, multi-channel consumer. Consumers and prospects demand that brands interact with them in relevant and impactful ways across an ever-evolving set of media channels and platforms. Owned and operated websites are an established and valued part of that marketing mix, yet the tools that most marketers use today to optimize their website experience lack a fundamental element necessary to drive consumer behavior, and that is consumer identity. Today, many marketers struggle to identify existing customers that visit their website and have little to no ability to identify prospects. In fact, up to 90% of website traffic is considered either unannounced or completely anonymous to marketers. During this webinar, we'll walk you through a simple process via which NEUSTAR'S proprietary identity infrastructure and our PageAdvisor solution can help unlock identity on your website and enhance your website optimization solution. This is accomplished by first helping you understand who is visiting your site and who is converting despite them being anonymous to you, and then by helping you create differentiated treatment and messaging strategies throughout your site. Website optimization is not a new concept. We've all been attempting to deliver differentiated or personalized experiences to visitors for years. Websites create an opportunity to interact on a one-to-one basis with customers and prospects. This generates even more pressure to provide a relevant and meaningful experience to those who manage those sites. Take this example. When a visitor lands on a big box retailer's site, that retailer would like to differentiate their site experience based upon the type of visitor. A 30 to 55-year-old man visiting the site for the first time should receive a different experience than a 28-year-old female visitor who is also a loyalty card member. At its most basic level, the male visitor might be shown hardware products, while the female visitor might be shown bedding to complement the furniture she recently purchased. While this use case is Marketing 101, the tools at marketers' fingertips for site optimization make this difficult at best and at times impossible. A/B or multivariate solutions do not provide truly personalized experiences. Instead, they determine a single generic experience that may work for more visitors than any other single experience, but will not resonate with the different types of visitors that traffic to a given site. The result is usually negligible lift in overall site engagement and conversion. A portion of site traffic comes from search, and while referring search terms can be helpful, they do not provide a full picture of the visitor's demography. Just because someone searched for the high-end product does not mean they can necessarily afford the high-end product. Behavioral-based optimization uses anonymous data as a proxy for demography. This is illogical in the absence of demographic data and can show small performance improvements in the near term, but over time, the results plateau. The missing link is identity. When a visitor authenticates on your website, all of the rich data you have on that customer can be used on the site. But the reality is that on most sites, less than 10% of users authenticate. How do I treat the rest? Our solution, PageAdvisor, helps determine how to treat the unauthenticated and anonymous visitor by leveraging NEUSTAR'S proprietary identity infrastructure to bring identity to your website in a privacy-compliant manner. The first step is to observe traffic to your website and learn what types of consumers are visiting your site and what types are converting or purchasing on your site. The analysis can be done through the lens of our Element 1 consumer analytics framework, which we'll speak more about in a moment, or through the lens, or in addition, also through the lens of how many existing customers we can match to CRM attributes that you have on them today. NEUSTAR'S identity infrastructure bridges the gap between online or digital interactions and offline identity and demographic data. We maintain the most accurate, scalable, and continuously updated identity platform in the market. This enables us to link what appear to be disparate consumer touchpoints across channels back to an offline persistent identifier. What look today like anonymous interactions on your site have no tie to your CRM data or to offline consumer data. These can be linked back to an authoritative offline identity and analyzed through the lens of how consumers are interacting with your website. Turning an anonymous visitor into a rich demographic profile, instead of just knowing that the anonymous visitor searched on Power Washer and using a Mac on a broadband connection, we now know that he has 3 kids, makes $70,000 to $80,000 per year, owns his home, and is a sports enthusiast. This is simply invaluable data to be able to message to this consumer properly. So how does it work? All of this listening and observing is done via a lightweight and privacy-compliant integration. All that is required is to call NEUSTAR'S domain via standard web protocols, and no user information needs to be passed by the marketer. When a consumer visits your website or a marketer's website, that website calls out to NEUSTAR. No information has to be passed to NEUSTAR. We simply check what intelligence we have associated with that browser and store that data for later analysis. At the same time, or via a separate process, a sample file of data or conversion data can be sent to NEUSTAR and integrated into the analysis. The offline data is used to not only determine which types of products may have been purchased, but also how many of those CRM records we can match to an anonymous visitors to your site. Once that site traffic has been observed for an appropriate period of time, the visitors and converters alike are analyzed through the lens of our Element 1 analytics framework. The Element 1 analytics framework is NEUSTAR'S proprietary lens through which all U.S.-based consumers can be analyzed. NEUSTAR puts each household in the United States into one of 172 microsegments based on core demographic attributes. We give these microsegments really catchy names like 1, 2, 3, and 4 so that they can be generically used or optimized for every given marketer's unique business needs. These numbers, 1 through 172, are building blocks that can be built up to model against given behaviors or actions we see on sites and or other valuable data that marketers know about their customers. The result can be anywhere from tactical microsegments where you can optimize message to large strategic groupings where you can bucket visitors into value segments. Here's an example of the type of analysis done during the listening and learn steps through the lens of Element 1. A major cruise line has competing priorities for their available website real estate, which includes new traveler acquisition, new destination and deal promotion, existing travel and customer support, rewards program management, and frankly, it could be an endless number of possibilities. Simply stated, a one-size-fits-all approach will not allow all of these products, services, promotions to be prioritized with the appropriate target audience. The cruise line integrated PageAdvisor to understand who is coming to the site and combine that site data with their own CRM data. Through the lens of the Element 1 analytics framework, the cruise line was able to group all visitors, or all possible visitors, into distinct segments based on actions they've taken and are likely to take, as well as products they are likely to respond to on the site. These segments are then profiled to understand their behaviors, travel attitudes, lifestyles, and demographic to create just these high-level bullets that you see or demographic descriptions of these audiences. Armed with all of this information on who is most likely visiting the site, the cruise line can not only determine which audience a given user falls into, but optimize the message, creative, and promotion that is sent to them based on that. Now that we've listened, learned, and created a plan for optimizing the site experience, it's time to put those learnings into action.
All right, Doug, I'll take it over from here. So, Doug reviewed the kind of set up that listening phase. It's critical for understanding who's coming to your site. And now the fun begins. You start to apply those learnings and providing differentiated treatment for various visitors to your site. And, this can take two paths. One is completely anonymous visitors, prospects that you've never seen before. And there's a segmentation that you can apply to those in order to deliver a more relevant message. The other flavor of this is known customers that are coming to your site that you can't identify. As Doug mentioned, there's a high proportion of traffic that's unannounced and anonymous and difficult to authenticate. And so there's a lot that you know about those customers if you can just pair them together. And PageAdvisor provides that linkage to those identities for you. So we're going to first start with an anonymous prospect where we want to apply segmentation. And so PageAdvisor connects you with your existing website optimization platform and it provides a more complete information about a larger segment of your online visitors. It allows you to present the personalized experience that will help you meet your site's KPIs. And those KPIs could be keeping them browsing longer on your site, driving deeper engagement into the funnel, or for most of our clients, it's that conversion event and getting them to buy more of your products and services. And so, Doug provided some examples where, in this case, you have a young professional family, and an older empty nester group. You're going to want to provide each of those segments with vastly different experiences as soon as they hit your homepage. And so let's talk about how you do that through PageAdvisor. So Doug started us off on this path about how basic PageAdvisor works in terms of the listening period. Now in an activation phase where we have prospects that are coming to our site and we want to apply this segmentation to those anonymous prospects, you're still starting with the consumer coming to the brand's website. But ahead of doing that, we've done this analysis on the back end, right? So we did a listening phase. We know the types of consumers that are coming to the site. We know what they're more likely to do once they come on the site, what products they're more likely to be interested in, or what their browsing behavior is like. We also have offline CRM data that we can match using the same identity infrastructure to our E1 segmentation and analytics framework to identify what are the groups of segments that exist and what are the different treatments that you would offer to those segments. And so the very high level example we gave was on a certain demographics, but you could have a combination of demographically based segments with actual behavioral characteristics that they're exhibiting on your site to form business logic around what message to present back to them. So the same infrastructure exists where someone comes to the website, PageAdvisor is called, the segment value is, the E1 segment value is returned, 1 from 172, back to your website optimization platform. And then there's business logic built into that optimization platform based on the analysis that had been done around Element 1 and determining which offer or which message, which image that segment should receive on the site, when they come there, and that's done in real time. So in sub-seconds, they're getting a personalized message based on their segment. So let's take an example further that Doug walked through. So we have a cruise line, and they've gone through this process of segmenting their anonymous site traffic, and then they want to apply this in a one-to-one, kind of fashion. So first, they're going to use that CRM data that they're getting from their frequent traveler program to model the types of attributes that they would want to use to create different segments for differentiated treatment. And let's keep with this example. They identify an older group that's more affluent. They're more world travelers interested in more luxurious and exotic destinations. And so the cruise line is going to want to promote the more expensive European cruises to this audience, which is the couple on the left. And so as soon as that couple identified through PageAdvisor and that segment hits the home page, they're getting this Destination Europe message with imagery that's relevant and compelling to them. Then you counter that with this younger professional family segment that's looking for exciting nightlife and the associated babysitters or kid club necessary for the parents to experience that nightlife. They're also on somewhat of a budget, and with that income being and the discretionary dollar being stretched a little further with kids to take care of, and so looking for that Caribbean party destination with a 20% discount. And so as soon as that family's recognized, the cruise line can present them with that promotional banner. And so the A/B test plan that's been created against the business as usual treatment now has a variety of personalized experiences that can be tested and served up in a more relevant way to those audiences as soon as they hit there. And this is where it's really important for the test to be set up properly and to ensure that you're getting appropriate lift off of this personalization investment. And that's across your brand consideration and preference, the site engagement measures that you may have, and eventual conversion on those consumers on your site. Now, once you've cleared this hurdle of exceeding what you're traditionally doing without the personalization, then you can further optimize that experience, so you're moving further down in the funnel on your site with enhanced experiences that could include chat support, rewards program, financing, product positioning, and refining those segments that we initially structured in the first round of testing. So there's a constant optimization that needs to occur in any of these live applications of the service. So that's kind of walking through when you don't have any information. It's an anonymous prospect. So now let's move forward with you have an authenticated known customer coming back to your site. There's a tremendous amount of data, and we're going to stick with that home goods example that Doug walked through, where you know who this person is, what segment they fall into, because that's in your CRM, the frequency in which they bought products, whether or not they're a rewards member, and then you also have all their personally identifiable information. So that's only if they authenticate. As a marketer, you have all this information at your disposal, but only a fraction of your visitors are going to be authenticated when they visit. So even if they previously logged in, with the way cookies refresh and are cleared, you're very unlikely to get that non-authenticated user identified. So PageAdvisor provides you with customer coverage, sending you specific information about your visitor even when they haven't logged in. And this allows you to serve up that same personalized experience that we just talked through on an anonymous prospect as you would with your customers. But the difference is you're able to pull back in through our linking and identity layer that Doug mentioned, all those customer attributes without even having to provide any of that personally identifiable information. And so now through PageAdvisor, we can return not just the E1 segment that allows you to do that personalization, but also specific customer attributes about that specific customer. So the frequency of purchase of certain products. So in this case, we're seeing that Denise here has bought bedding in the last year, and so we want to make her aware of this bedding sale that's going on. We also know that she's a rewards member. So is there other promotions that are special or unique to existing rewards members that we would want to promote on the site? All this is now possible through the PageAdvisor service. So let's take a look at how that works. And so for our anonymous customers that come to a site, we can apply that CRM data by making the same call from the website. So consumer hits the home page, the website makes the call to NEUSTAR. NEUSTAR confirms we have identity on that website visitor. When we do, we're matching that and pairing that with our client's CRM data, and then we're able to bring that CRM data along with the E1 code, whatever other attributes they would like included, propensity to buy certain products, model scores that have been built about those segments, previous purchase history, any of those attributes that would then be relevant to the website optimization service to render a very tailored and specific message, image, and offer to that existing customer on the site. And so let's go back to our original kind of discussion here around what PageAdvisor offers, and really at the end of the day, it reduces those default experiences, those one-size-fits-all experiences for visitors to your website. So in the cases where you can't authenticate, they're anonymous visitors, you don't know anything about them, PageAdvisor allows you to bring back information about prospects that you wouldn't know, based on lookalikes in your CRM, or specific customer attributes that you wouldn't have had. And so let's stick with that customer attribute and go back to our cruise line example and talk through how you can extend that customer engagement leveraging the CRM. And so for our cruise line, they have a fairly substantial loyalty rewards membership database. And in that CRM data, they have information on how long their customers have been with them, total amount spent on travel, number of trips taken, destination preferences, interest in financing options, deal promotion conversion, partner service adoption propensity, which is a fancy way of saying their likelihood to sign up for a partner's credit card. And so now, armed with all this information and really rich data about those customers, there's a very tailored experience that you could serve up for those return visitors. And so, let's take a fictional customer. We nicknamed them the Millers. That's the good-looking couple. That's the empty nesters that we've been walking through. They don't authenticate on the site, and the last time they did, they refreshed their cookies, and so you have no idea that it's the Millers visiting the cruise line homepage or a brand new prospect. But through PageAdvisor, you're able to pull back and return certain characteristics about them. The fact that they're very high value based on their previous travel frequency and the amount spent. Within the last year, they've taken cruises in New Zealand and South Africa. They are current rewards members that don't need the financing options, but they would be interested in a credit card where they can earn rewards for their travel. So immediately, you have a lot more information about what to serve them. And in the Miller's case, the cruise line is going to size them up with the newest Mediterranean Sea cruise route that's just been offered and exclusive to these high-value travelers. They're also going to promote their Explorer card, which is a rewards credit card for this high-value group. We're not going to show them any financing because we know that they're not likely to take that, and so we're going to instead give them the VIP treatment. We're going to prompt them with a chat window, right as soon as they hit the site, letting them know we're here for them. We're going to help them through this process. We're going to give them a special 1-800 number to call if they're interested in that to get more information. And we're going to give them the white glove treatment because we've identified them as a high value, high rewards member client. And that's all through the identity that we can serve up through the PageAdvisor service. So, at the end of the day, across all these applications and really leveraging the tool to its maximum benefit, you want to ensure that you're constantly getting the maximum return on doing this personalization on the site. And so this cruise line is going to have to continuously adapt their service positioning, their mix, and their messaging to respond to the seasonal, economic, and competitive influences that are impacting both their prospects and their customer site behavior. And so a key point and one of the big takeaways from this webinar is constant iteration on your personalization strategy. Evaluating the competitive dynamics in your industry, the changes in site behavior, times of year, seasonality that factor into that, and monitoring the performance on an ongoing basis. And so on that note, there's a client example that has exhibited this for a number of years. We started working with Lenovo, who, if you're not familiar, is the global leader in computer manufacturing. They set out to do personalization on their site, and prior to working with NEUSTAR, they had just a one-size-fits-all website where they were showing the same product and service opportunities to anyone that landed on Lenovo.com. And so through PageAdvisor, they were able to alter that experience based on product types and profiles of who's most likely to buy those product types, and blending the two into a truly personalized experience where you had the device paired with imagery that was reflective of the segment that was most likely to buy those products in kind of a complete solution. They were able to take their order conversion up over 76%, and their revenue per visitor, which is a key metric that I know a lot of e-marketers use, up 59%. The results were so good that the director and general manager of the site for North America didn't even believe the results when we first showed them to him. And overall conversion was boosted by 40%. So this is an example of this kind of personalization and optimization, ongoing optimization in action through PageAdvisor. And then finally, we're not going to leave you hanging to do all this and explore all this on your own. We have, and I lead our advisory services practice, which is filled with a lot of team members that have a tremendous amount of experience in helping our clients get to this place where they're successful with personalization on their site for both anonymous prospects as well as customers, and really helping with the identification step, which is an understanding of who's coming to the site. It's amazing how many brands are out there with no real intelligence on the types of consumers that are more likely to come to their site, and then once they do come to their site, what are they doing on the site? And then we also provide assistance on that personalization step where you're looking to uncover those attributes that would be necessary to group your consumers into meaningful segments that you can operationalize on your site and provide a differentiated treatment and driving those lines along demographics or site behavior or business KPIs that are important around purchase likelihood for certain services. All those can be brought into the equation and into defining and developing a personalization strategy that makes sense for your site. And then the final step is putting that into practice. Like I said earlier, this is the fun stuff. This is where You get to take those hypotheses, the work that you've done, leveraging the vast CRM data that you have, and understanding of who's coming to the site, and putting that into practice and optimizing those experiences for those audiences where it matters most, making them more relevant, making them more compelling, and to the point where you're enticing and incenting higher conversion rates on the site, which is in most cases the end goal. And then it's not about just stopping there with one successful implementation or activation. It's constant refinement, to my points earlier, of looking at the dynamics, what's changing in your market, just around consumer behavior overall, and then new products and offerings that your company's bringing to market all need to be taken into consideration in those personalization steps. There's a lot of algorithms out there that work through a lot of this and take the heavy lifting out of it, but there's still also strategic planning that needs to tie that work back to your business goals, and that's really what our advisory services practice is set up to do and help you get the most out of your investment in these services.
So Jason, it sounds like you're saying whether you're looking to simply bridge the anonymity gap by returning CRM or E1 data that's going to help inform your website personalization, and you just want to set and forget it, there's that. But if you need somebody to help you every step of the process to understand what this data means and how to use it effectively, there's a team to help you do that as well. Is that right?
Exactly right. Yep.
Great. Well, there's a ton of questions that have come in so far, and please keep them coming. If for any reason we can't answer all the questions, we promise we'll get back to you via email. I'm going to start to dig into them right now. So Doug and Jason, you're on the hook. The first question that I received is, how can you combine your own segments, I'm assuming this means the marketer segments, from CRM with NEUSTAR'S value segments? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And, we do a lot of projects for clients where they've gone out and done significant segmentation work, and they've researched these segments, and they understand, their buying behaviors, their interests, their motivations. They have, posters hung up around these segments, and they're really institutionalized within their organization. And so our team is able to do alignment projects with our Element 1 analytics framework to those segmentation schemas such that they can be operationalized and brought to life in an application like PageAdvisor. So that's something that's a very common project for us, and that's the case with many of our clients.
After that one, I'm going to do a really easy one. The question is, when will we be getting a copy of the PowerPoint and a recording? And the answer is the next couple of days. So don't worry, we'll definitely get that over to you. Next question after that. You mentioned an ability to tie identity to other channels. Can you explain a little bit more about what this means? Doug, do you want
Jason, do you want me to take that one? Sure.
Go ahead.
So, the short of it is, we talked today about how we can tie this identity to a marketer's website, but the same infrastructure, identity infrastructure, exists in other digital channels, mobile, both web and in-app browsing. It exists in the display world. It exists in other offline channels too. Things like attaching that Element 1 segmentation framework to inbound calls, outbound mail pieces. We're beginning to get into addressable TV as that market develops. So the beauty of what NEUSTAR has built is ultimately this identity infrastructure is extensible throughout all these channels and links back to that persistent identifier that crosses all of these channels. So the use cases, a couple of easy use cases are echo the message somebody receives when they visit the site, when you retarget them in display, or when you send them an email, or vice versa. You're sending someone a direct mail piece to note that they're in a given campaign, such that when they come to the website, you can mimic that message, echo that message, whatever term you want to use. And then we also are beginning to develop some capabilities where we can extend sort of that tried and true retargeting, remarketing that most everyone does from their website out into non-digital channels. So imagine being able to take anonymous website visitors and create email campaigns, direct mail campaigns based off of that interaction. Obviously, we have to do that at appropriate levels. We can't do that at too granular of a level, but we're seeing a lot of results with clients who are taking steps to sprinkle this identity layer throughout all that they do.
I realize I'm being paid to say this, but that's pretty damn incredible.
Totally unbiased.
Totally unbiased. It is incredible, though. So we had a number of questions that all are approximately the same questions. I'm going to try to combine them. If you already have a provider for website personalization, does this replace it? Does it work with it? And assuming I already know the answer is yes, the answer is it augments it. But then who do you work with, and how does that technically work together?
Yeah,
yes,
so
I'll take that one. Oh, go ahead, Doug.
Go for it.
So
everyone wants to answer all the good questions. Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, we work with a variety of clients that have some kind of personalization already in place, and to clarify as well, I mean, we talked about the website optimization service, so that's something like an Adobe Test and Target where we're providing data via PageAdvisor as an input into that optimization engine that exists on the site, or to feed a learning algorithm with incremental data. And so to answer the question, we're always partnering and working with other solutions to provide this service and bring it to bear for our clients. And so really it depends on the client need in terms of how much of our interaction beyond providing that data into and fueling that optimization is needed. I will say that in many cases there's partners that are just providing that technology, but not the broader professional services or consulting that goes along with it. And so there's cases where we're providing both the data and the advisory services around that, and then there's others where they're really just looking for the data to fuel their personalization. So I'd say to answer the question, yes, working with existing solutions and integrating in there, and then based on client need to augment that solution with consulting services as well. So Doug, I don't know if you want any other comments on that.
No, you nailed it. We've integrated with most major players in the website optimization space, and the infrastructure we use for site optimization is the same infrastructure that all of our digital solutions leverage. So beyond just those integrations, we're integrated with 80+ digital marketing platforms. So even if there's one that we're not integrated with today necessarily, we could be up and running very quickly with them.
Great. It's not just hypothetical, it sounds like. It's things we've done many times in the past. How much data is needed for PageAdvisor to function correctly?
I'll take that one. Well, so I mean,
okay.
Really the site traffic. Actually, I don't know, Doug, if you have a feeling of the traffic that we really need to see in order to get a good read.
Sure.
But go ahead and take that.
Yes, so a couple 100,000 visitors is enough to get a good read. I think the question becomes, what's the conversion event? What's the value of a site visitor as to whether the solution makes sense for a given marketer? Obviously, the larger the sites and more data we have, the more refined the modeling and intelligence is going to be. That said, I've certainly seen it work for some relatively small sites that are selling very high-end items. I think it also depends on the product, right? The example with Lenovo is a great one. They are a company that has hundreds of different products, but they categorize very well. So we've had a lot of good experience in PC OEM, telecom, financial services, even some of the nonprofit space where the products sort of segmented to big buckets easily. Jason, I'll steal your thunder a little bit, but from an Element 1 analytics perspective, because we do have 172 micro segments, there's got to be a significant sort of distribution across all of them. So to do an analysis of offline conversion data, you're talking a couple 100,000 records to get a really good view. There is really no silver bullet to how much data is needed. The good news is that identity infrastructure is already out there in the digital wild, and we have it on customers that are visiting marketers' websites. It just depends on that sort of scale to accuracy, slide bar, if you will, that we all deal with in the digital world.
So I have a somewhat related question to that. When you're starting a small business, or if you currently have a small business, what would you recommend as next steps in terms of building up CRM or making segmentation work for your small business?
Yeah, well, so one of the benefits of working with as robust a platform as we have with the Element 1 analytics framework is we have 16,000 syndicated profiles that can be projected out across all consumers in the United States. And so depending on the small business and the type of business you're in and the space, we likely have some proxy directional attributes that could be leveraged to shape kind of an initial understanding of how you should be targeting and messaging to particular segments of the market around certain product offerings. So it depends on the industry that you're in. But I actually came to NEUSTAR from a client that was a startup that didn't have a lot of consumer data to start with, and so we leveraged NEUSTAR data to kind of get going with our segmentation structure as a starting point. And as we grew our business and brought on more customers, then we were able to layer that in to refine the schema, as a result of that. But so that would be the advice I would offer is that you kind of take advantage of other data sources that are out there to complement the lack of data that you have. And that isn't just limited to small businesses. It's also a consideration for many big brands that are in the consumer packaged goods space. Sticking with the Lenovo example, the vast majority of their devices are sold through retail channels where they don't get access back to that CRM data. And so the website itself and the visitors to that website and being able to identify them through the PageAdvisor application gives them an understanding and intelligence on those visitors and those customers that they don't have any other mechanism to capture. And so, just from going back to Doug's discussion around the listening that you can do on your site, just that alone allows you to start to build a much better understanding of your customers when you're challenged to get that data on the back end.
Great, thank you. So this is a bit of a technical clarification question. What browser information does PageAdvisor use to identify anonymous visitors? Is it like a device fingerprint that primarily uses browser and other settings to establish the identification?
No. The short answer, it uses no browser information other than a NEUSTAR cookie that has been placed on that machine. So it is not a fingerprinting solution. We maintain through a separate network of publisher match partners the association between a browser and an identity, and that association is refreshed constantly and sort of ubiquitous throughout the digital world. We purposefully shy away from fingerprinting and other behavioral ways to determine who might be on the other side of an interaction. We have a deterministic link based on an authentication event by a user that a given person is associated with a browser, and we use that. That's fundamentally how we're different and why we complement other website optimization solutions.
Perfect, thank you. So many questions, and we're not going to be able to get through all of them, but we promise to get back to you guys with any questions that we don't answer. So this is the final question from Steve West. Where is the personal age, income, et cetera, data coming from specifically?
Jason, do you want to take that
Doug
one?
isn't answering. So we have a number of data sources for our demographic information that's stored on a consumer level. And so we have this identity layer that Doug mentioned, and then we're appending demographics to those identities. And so we have a number of sources that we use to get those individual demographics that we're applying. And no demographic provider is going to offer you 100% coverage of demographics. And so, but we have a substantial component of our base that is coded with actual household level demographics. And then from that, based on what we know about the segments, we're able to associate through a nearest neighbor approach and expand that understanding of demographics and fill in for that for the remainder of all U.S. households. And so the answer to the question is I can't give you specific sources. I can tell you we have a number of sources for our demographics that are appended, and then the remainder of those are modeled.
Great, thank you. Well, I want to thank again. Oh, go ahead, Doug. Go ahead.
No, I would just add real quickly to that. Everything Jason said is obviously 100% correct. Where we're different isn't necessarily the sources of our demographic data, but our ability to tie that to the ground, tie it to a household, tie it to an anonymous website visitor, tie it to an inbound phone call. All of those things that we can do based on that identity layer and making that extensible is what makes us different, not necessarily where we source our demographic data from.
Great point, Doug.
Appreciate that. So I want to thank again Jason Beyer and Doug Feit, and I want to thank you for attending our webinar today. As I mentioned, we'll be following up with any unanswered questions that you have, also the actual presentation itself, including the PowerPoint and a video of the presentation. Have a great day. Thank you very much for attending.